I want to tell you about a weird thing that happened to me this week. I had a hallucination, kind of. It wasn't really, but it kind of was. Maybe I was sleep deprived. Maybe my brain was just in the right place for it. But I was just walking along my neighborhood, past a bunch of houses that I've walked past a billion times. Houses that have electricity and iPhones and water heaters in them. But suddenly, I felt like I was walking through nature, like I was in a forest where a bunch of animals live. But one of the species just happened to be able to build these extraordinarily useful and exquisitely complex, long-lasting nests. This is a thing people talk about, like that the distinction between humanity and nature is a false distinction, that there are no unnatural things because we are natural. But I've never really felt this to be a particularly compelling perspective. Like, obviously, there is something different about a chemical plant that produces ammonium perchlorate that is then stuffed into two giant metal tubes and then lit on fire so that a third metal tube full of hydrogen and oxygen can also be lit on fire and lift yet more fuel into orbit around the Earth so that 4 people can send back a picture of the whole planet on the way to the moon. If that's natural, then we're going to need a word for the thing that humans are inside of nature that is nonetheless pretty dang different from what most life on Earth is doing. But I did see it. Like, this perspective flip really happened where suddenly...
Okay, Hank watches the stream. That's what this is. There's a little bit of a joke. I see this all the time. And it's hard for people to fathom, but like, we are nature. We are nature experiencing itself. This has already been known. Eastern philosophy has covered this. Other pockets of the world have already covered this. We are nature. But it's interesting to see people discover it when they do, when they have the realization in the bubble pop. It happens for different people at different times. But yeah, we are nature. Remember the panel that I hosted a while back, and the men on the panel were like, we've kind of ascended nature because we go to space. We're more than nature. No. Nature can send itself to space. Like, we are a nature. So I'm upset that he called it a hallucination, because what that is it adds to this idea that people who are having these very reasonable realizations are somehow insane. It's not a hallucination. It's a realization. It's a discovery of what is true instead of like, so I don't love that he called it a hallucination. And then, yeah, it's a bubble pop. Exactly. Like, it's a bubble pop. Now, I understand he's a science guy, he's in a science bubble, and I would like to believe that a lot of my foundational understanding and my philosophical perspectives are also science-based, but I will also say that it could be harder for people in his bubble to accept that we are nature, because the way that we have, the way we've liked to think about ourselves is that we're more than nature. I mean, which is ironic, since even the Bible, kind of makes it clear that we're of nature. If you follow the story of Adam and Eve quite literally, you could argue we come from dirt, we are nature. But more than that, God gave domain over animals to Adam. That is enough for Christians and patriarchal religions to insinuate we're above nature, we're made in the image of God. So there's a lot of layers here. There's the science bubble that wants to believe like we're somehow better. There's also the part where, especially because Hank's not vegan, as far as I know, or plant-based, there's also this part of it being like humans are the center of everything that's good and humans are the main character and it's all about humans. Like, there are people who really think like planet Earth is about humans. The whole point of working so hard to sustain planet Earth is for people, instead of it being like, oh, we're a part of this ecosystem, we're a part of everything. So it's cool for him to see this, but it's interesting the way he's already phrased it, but maybe it's just for clickbait reasons.
Walking through the built environment of my neighborhood, I felt like I was walking through nature. Beavers and birds build their little worlds, and we do too. When Oren was really little, we would talk about the 3 kinds of things. There were things created by the universe, like Mars and stars and mountains. There are things created by life, like birds and pine cones and butterfly eggs. And then there were things created by people, like houses and TV shows and jokes. But of course, those 3 things are not separate piles that do not touch. They are all nested inside of each other. Everything created by life was also created by the universe, and everything created by people was also created by life. Apparently, if you give hydrogen atoms 13.7 billion years, sometimes you get houses and jokes and solid rocket boosters. The universe made every joke. It just took a really long time. Now here's some.
Okay, now this is, I wonder where he's going with this, because this is the framework of the levels for me. This is my framework of the philosophical framework I'm working on. This is the framework. I think this is what's actually true about the world, is that we are simply nature experiencing itself. But what human beings do is they relate themselves to planet Earth, and it stops there. Instead of recognizing, no, we are on planet Earth that is also in the universe, and we are just a part of. We are not the main characters. We're simply a part of everything. So now what, right? Let's see how far he takes it.
Something that is just, I think, part of being a human, I don't find it interesting or pleasant to think of the human-built world as an arrangement of atoms. That's pretty boring. But I do find it interesting and pleasant to think of it as a creation of life. I don't know exactly why that is. Maybe that's because atoms, while they could be very beautiful, I mean, the Grand Canyon is just atoms, like, they're not a very exclusive club. Valles Marineris is also atoms, and I don't think about that very much, and I think about it a lot more than normal people. Ultimately, most things are atoms. You know, not everything, not neutron stars. Life, on the other hand, is a much more interesting and exclusive club. Moves much faster, does more interesting thing, arranges molecules in much more complicated and bizarre ways. And certainly, whatever it is that we are beyond nature, that thing that makes a chemical plant different from a termite mound, is not primarily an effect of physics, it's an effect of biology. I don't feel my physics, but I feel my biology. I feel it all the time. Every decision I have ever made was made by an animal. And sometimes I want to deny my biology, sometimes I am asked to deny it, but I really can't ultimately. Like, I can get somewhere with that. But
he's reading Robert Sapolsky. He just read Determination. No, shout out to Hank. This is a really fun realization for him to have. And I think it's key. And I wish more people would have it. And also, it's why I'm so compassionate and loving. Is like, you want to deny that you're a biological creature, that you're making all these free will choices, that you're existing in like this great universe called your mind that knows but no, you are a product of the universe. You're absolutely a product of everything that came before you, and you're a product of your biological, reality. So there's some parts of this now, of course, even saying biological reality will get co-opted by conservatives who think they know what they're talking about. But everything is. That's why this idea that they're like, it's not natural to be gay. Well, that's not. Everything is natural. Everything is nature. Everything, even the bad stuff, even the good stuff. We like to think only the good stuff is natural and all the bad stuff is unnatural. Nope. All of it is natural. Good, bad, indifferent.
Not far. And so I can't help but ask, is a solid rocket booster natural? I mean, obviously it is not. But also, obviously it is. Like, we are the way we are because of our evolution, because of our biology. And the traits that got packaged up in us include cooperation and curiosity and competition and stubbornness and the inability to look at the moon without wanting to go to there. We didn't go to the moon because we solved the physics of going to the moon. We went because we couldn't stop wanting to go to the moon. It is both entirely technological and entirely natural. Sometimes, rarely, in the forest of human creations, a bit of nature shoots not just above the clouds, but out beyond the moon. John, I'll see you on Tuesday.
Exactly. I'm really excited that he had this realization. I'll go to the comments to read. I'm curious what they say. But I would say that the dilemma I have and the realization I came to is that you can know this in two ways. You could know this. Okay, I'm going to talk about my philosophical framework now because we do philosophy through pop culture here. Hi, my name is Brittany Simon if you're just coming into stream. Okay, so I think people exist within a framework where planet Earth is like the center of the universe, right? But I think more than that, there is a realization that there's more. And the more is simply that we are, okay? That we are. That look like an R, okay? The dilemma is that Hank can have this realization as a 2 or a 5, okay? So if we look at the levels for what they are, a 2 can say, oh my God, guys, are we like in nature right now? Like, is all of this is nature? Oh my God, this is amazing. Look how beautiful nature is. Oh my God. And then a 5 can say, oh shit, like, yeah, everything is nature. So wait, what does that mean for us thinking this is the center of the universe? It asks another question, right? Or maybe you could say actually technically a 4 would ask the other question. The 4 would technically have the realization. The 3 might say, is there more, right? Is there more? And the 4 might say, uh-oh, wait a second. This isn't the center of the universe. That means nothing is the center of the universe. Racism or bigotry or starvation or civilization or building skyscrapers or scientific discoveries. Like, wait, because we think this is it. Like, this is all of our life. Like, this is all that matters. Like, this is. So is Hank having the realization that like, hey, I think we might be nature in a way that would make him like maybe a vegan or a monk in the mountains? Or is he saying like, hey, we might be nature, which means like all of this is just a product of like nature, and the best we can do is the best we can do, but there really isn't something magical waiting to happen. Like, there isn't going to be something around the corner if we just write the right book or do the right protest or do the right charity and then accept it into your mind and body and embody this belief. They're like, oh, yeah, okay, we'll do our best. That's why I say like there are no such thing as good people and bad people, even though there are good people and bad people. There's no such thing as good people and bad people the same way there's no such thing as a good dog or a bad dog. And yet some good dogs will eat your baby's face off. Some bad humans will genocide a whole population. And if you zoom out, we really are just nature experiencing itself. We don't add a moral judgment to a tsunami, but we add a moral judgment to people who kill each other. I think both are true. I think there's a moral judgment to be had on, the person who has the illusion of choice. We make that so we can have a cohesive society because nature runs a certain way. We're not, exempt from these hierarchies created by nature. You can see this in documentaries about the monkeys. You can see that they literally will ostracize certain monkeys, and then certain monkeys will come in and give those people, I was just going to say those people, animals are people, people are animals, really. But they'll give those community members like food or help them back into the pack, or they'll reject them because they weren't. That's nature. We call that nature, but we don't call our socializing nature because we give ourselves an ego benefit of saying we made a choice because we have the illusion of choice because we have shared language. The shared language gives us an illusion of choice. But if we could talk to animals, we would then start holding them to a standard because we can communicate. In the same way that we'd probably stop eating them, maybe, probably not, because we could talk to them. But the standard of choice, it really comes from the illusion of communication. Well, I could do this and you're like me. And then but that's why also there's a layer to this. There's an intersection, right? To the fact that there are also people on earth who think some human beings aren't actually human and they're actually like less than. And who do they compare? You're so animalistic, right? The reason I caution people from using animal as an insult to a human being is because we are animals. And so when you do that, you're not understanding what you are. You're denying your own nature. Now, of course, and this is the part that's kind of hard, is that this realization is beneficial to all of society and humanity, whether you're 2 or a 5. The levels are not about the world, it's about you. Where do you fit in? So what is this going to do for Hank's life? Is this going to change his life? Is it going to show any significant meaning to his life? Is he just going to circulate in a different bubble and operate in a different way? Or is it going to fundamentally change his personal, private relationship with existence? Because, Hank, the person who shares with us, we don't know that. Like, that's a performance in the same way that this is a performance because I'm at work right now. But when he goes home and he sits at home and he meditates with himself, is this going to be such a significant change in his realization that like he and his relationship with self will significantly change? Or would this just be another cool thing that he tells his kid like, hey, we're all nature? And the kid goes, okay. Like, you ever talk to a person who kind of grew up without religion and they're like, we're here because of the Big Bang, dude. Like, it's evolution. But they're not actually having like an embodied relation with the concept of evolution. And then they're always debating religious people that are like, evolution's not real. God made us. Okay, these people are twos having 2 conversations. And that's fine. But then when you realize and you really grasp and you really understand, oh, are we just animals on a planet, bro? It not only allows you to be more compassionate and more patient, it allows you to raise better people and allows you to be more compassionate to those people. How many adults in your life growing up, especially if you grew up religious, said, oh, that kid knows what they're doing. Oh, that baby knows it's manipulating us. Ooh, that 7-year-old knew exactly what they were doing. Right? Chess says that we have no choice. Well, we have the concept of choice, right? If you read Robert Sapolsky, he would say that it's determined, right? That's determinism, right? He would say that it's already been determined for us. I would say that the biological experience we get to engage in allows for just the right amount of choice to make an illusion of a decision that's really necessary for a person to grow. And when you zoom out, it's already happened. I've already died. You've already died. We've already lived. I've already been 90. Time is illusion. Like, time doesn't exist. We know this. Like, we know time is an illusion, right? We know seconds on a clock is a construct. We made it up. It doesn't exist. We know daylight savings is made up, right? But we engage in it like it's real because it's really impacting our life. We could make the choice to stop daylight savings. We could make the choice to make the day longer. We could make the choice to change the construct around the concept of a week or a month or a year. We could change anything, but we don't, because for some people, they're like, but it's true. It's just the way it is. It's the way we came to know it. It's the way we decided to verbalize the changing, the change. Like, again, so the question is, do we have a choice? You have as much choices as you have and not any more than that. But the amount of choices you have is kind of amazing. Like, do not underestimate the amount of choice you have. And also, don't over-exaggerate it either. Okay? So that's the problem, is people do one or the other. They either say, oh, well, I have no choice and I can't change. Well, that's not true. Or they go, oh, you have all the choices in the world. I can't believe you made this decision. Well, that's also not true. You, as an individual, okay, have to know your limitations. I remember we were having a philosophical discussion in the Discord once, and the question was, could you stab a baby? And I said, no. And the person in the Discord was like, you could stab a baby. I was like, no, I could not stab a baby. They're like, you could stab a baby. And I was like, okay, I know I can stab a baby. Trust me, I could take a baby in a fight, but I cannot stab a baby. I think my biological experience wouldn't let me. I think my brain would stop me. I think my body would be unable to fulfill this action. And they're like, no, you could kill a baby if you needed to kill a baby. And I'm like, no. And they're like, could you kill a baby if the baby was in pain? I'm like, no. Well, hold on. Do you mean like stab a baby? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, no. Could I inject the baby with morphine in order to overdose it so it doesn't have to be in pain anymore? Sure, that feels reasonable. Could I stab a baby? Why do I have to stab the baby? You know, do you not understand how to stabbing people is horrible? I'm not going to stab anybody. Okay. But the issue is this illusion of choice comes from, it kind of comes from this idea of like, almost like thinking too much of yourself. I actually almost guarantee you this person couldn't stab a baby, but what they wanted to believe was that they were capable, because not thinking you're capable is a sign of weakness. So people don't want to admit that they actually can't make the choice, because if we say we can make the choice, it makes us feel more empowered. And so we would rather say, oh, I could make the choice to stab a baby because it makes us feel more empowered than to just say, yeah, I couldn't stab a baby. So does that kind of translate? Does that make sense? And so what requires, in my mind, a true extrospection is a level of humility. You have to have the humility to say something. That's why weakness can look like strength and strength can look like weakness. You must have the humility and the strength to say, I don't know. And then the audience must have the wisdom and strength to see that as what it is. Truth. And not a bad thing. Oh, you don't know? Oh, you don't know? Versus, oh, okay, thanks for telling us. Let's figure it out. How society reacts to I don't know turns people into liars. How much choice can a child have in an environment if when they say I don't know, they're mocked and belittled? So then they're raised in an environment that teaches them I must be an adult that never admits I'm wrong. Because if I admit I don't know or that I'm wrong, I'm belittled. So then we create a society of liars. And society, that's why I say the world is a reflection of us as a whole. The world cannot be the way it is unless a majority of us are this way. And if every single person is the minority who's the good, and that's an illusion as well, right? Then you're kind of like, you're assuming, oh, well, the world sucks, but I'm the good one. Okay, but everyone thinks that. If everyone thinks they're the good one, then how could the world be this? How could this be the result of the world? How could we be bombing Iranian schoolgirls and committing genocides and displacing 1 million people? How could, if we're all the good ones, if a majority of people were the good ones, why would this even be a solution? Why would the world leaders be the ones we have? Okay? So the world has to be a reflection of us as a whole because it couldn't occur without us. And that's why I say we all have to take responsibility for how the world ended up. It can't just be them or this. It has to be all of us, right? I actually shared this in the Discord. Wait. wait. Do I have this in the Discord? Let me see. It's like a little Chinese proverb that you see on Instagram. It says, he who blames others has a long way to go on his journey. He who blames himself is halfway there, and he who blames no one has arrived. I always say to you, I blame no one. One thing I liberated myself out of individually was not blaming anybody. I'm not blaming you. I'm explaining how it happened. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying it's happening. Would you like to do something else? Hey, I'm not blaming you for coming to that conclusion, but that's the wrong conclusion. Would you like to do something else? And they go, no. I'm like, okay. So if you're going to stay in that conclusion, which is wrong, and we have the evidence to prove it's wrong, I'm going to stop hanging out with you. And they're like, oh, I can't believe you're breaking up with me over politics. No. I'm not blaming you. I'm giving you a chance to change. You won't change. And since you won't change and I am a different person, I can't be with you, right? What you're doing is you're saying, that's why I don't give ultimatums. I don't say you must change or I'll leave. I'll say, hey, would you like to change? And they go, no. I'm like, okay, you don't have to change. I would never make a prescription. And since you won't change, for my sake, I need to move. I need to go somewhere else, right? Now, in that moment, you might be like, oh, Brittany's making a choice to leave. I am. I'm making a decision based off data to move in a different way. That person is also making a choice, but it is truly less of a choice than I am making. Ironically enough, I have the introspection and the tools to actually make a choice more than that person. I'll give you an example. Let's say I wasn't Brittany at this stage and I was a Brittany who was at a different stage who maybe didn't have as many tools. That person comes to me the same thing and I say to them, please, I'm begging you, change so I can stay with you. Please, I want to be with you. Please change so I can be with you. And they go, no, I'm not going to change. Okay, I'll stay with you, but I really want you to change. I'm not really engaging in a choice in the way that they're not engaging in a choice because none of us are in that moment actually introspecting or extrospecting. We're not actually using data or growth or healing to make a decision. We're just frustrated, expressing a frustration and settling into defeat. And the different version of us would say, okay, new conversation. Hey, I actually think that thing you said was wrong. Did you want to read about it to get the updated information? Oh, thank you so much. Can I see your sources? Oh, you were right. You know what? I don't know why I thought I was correct. You're right. Thank you for showing me that source. You're welcome. Okay, let's go make love now. Isn't that such a better ending? Isn't that the better ending? Do we not want to end our, you know what I'm saying? Okay, that's it. That's my marriage now. My marriage now is both of us are Googling while we talk. We're like, where'd you get that source? No. This study says this. That's my marriage now. My marriage now is very like, who said that? Where'd you hear that? Was that a TikTok? Was there a .gov? Was it a .org? Was it a .edu? What was this? What was the, you know what I mean? And it's nice and it's freeing and it's liberating and it's exciting because we're actually discovering information together. You know, it's like really exciting. It's not, we're trying to up one each other. It's not trying to call the other person stupid. Never call each other people. Oh my God, we never call each other names. Never. It's exciting. It's like, hey, I think that's wrong. It's like, oh shit, really? Oh, my bad, bro. So I'm excited for Hank. I think there's a lot of good here. And I also think, I wonder where he'll take it. Okay, look at comment section on his video said, bro was high on life. Love that. And yet, if more people were high on life, maybe life would be better, right? The most drawn green emotional life video Hank has ever made. This sounds like having a sudden, profound existential realization, not a hallucination, but hey, cool. I think it is more of a dissociative moment than a hallucination. You weren't perceiving something with your senses you weren't providing. Wait, something your senses weren't providing. You were experiencing your senses in a different way. Yeah, I see. That's the problem. Hank, I can't tell if Hank titled it, I had a hallucination this week, so people would engage in the video. Was this a deliberate decision he made to trick people into commenting? Because that did annoy me. When I first saw the video title, I went like this. I was like, Hank, you did not have a hallucination. Like, I just knew before I even watched it, you did not have a hallucination, sir. But that's the problem, is like, my brain could never do this and feel good about it. I would feel like I was tricking my audience into clicking on a video that like wasn't true. It is not a hallucination. And I know he caveats it in the very beginning with it's not a hallucination, but I think that's the difference is like, I always struggle with this is like, don't you feel like a little bit of a liar now? Anyways, you're not a liar and I love this video. I'm glad it worked, okay? I'm glad it worked for you. But with that said, it wasn't a hallucination. You actually just had a profound realization that you are indeed nature experiencing itself. Congratulations. Now, if only 8 other billion people could figure that out, so we could stop hating and killing each other because we thought God told us to, or we thought because we were the genetic lottery and all of a sudden we're the greatest creation biology ever created because we have blue eyes and blonde hair. Like, maybe we could all start to realize we're nature experiencing itself and I don't know, do something better with our lives. But that's just me. Anyways, with that said, I'm not making that prescription and I know for a fact it will either happen or it won't, but I do think that's the solution. I do think having that realization is key. And I think not attaching any meaning to it is important because my dad and I will both watch science videos together and my dad will say, oh, look how amazing God is, Betsy. Look at the universe. Look at this amazing proof of God. And I'll say, How does this prove God? And that's the difference. I look at the universe, I look at my hands, I look at my own eyeballs, and I think, oh my God, I can't believe I exist. I think about the way my brain is thinking, and I think about the thoughts I'm experiencing, and I'm just like, I cannot. Sometimes I'm like, whoa, I can't believe I'm alive. And then it's like an amazing realization. That's what meditation allows you. It allows you to go so deeply, into yourself that you're like, oh my God, I'm really alive. Like I can feel my breath. I know I'm breathing. I can see the inside of my body. I can really meditate myself into even witnessing the world around me. Like I can really, those images where it shows like the transport of the spirit up the body and into the sky. It feels like that. And, in meditation, it feels like, oh my gosh, it's like even the sun on my skin. I was petting Indiana this morning and she had been laying by the window and she was so warm. And I was just like, oh my God, we're really living. We're alive. And this is years in the making, right? I'm 36 now. Years in the making of constant realization and this feeling you need to have it all the time. You need to always go back to this feeling because the world is so traumatized and damaged. And why wouldn't it be? We're animals on a planet. And so we get lost in it. We get and that's why I say liberate your spirit, liberate you. And then understand we have to dismantle systems. These are two different versions. Liberate yourself. Accept that your life experiencing itself. And then let's work on dismantling systems. Because it's really important that we do that. But first, liberate yourself. You are more than politics. You are more than systems of oppression, and yet we exist in them because people are fucked up. Because people are fucked up, ourselves included, the world is the way that it is. We are not exempt from the responsibility. Okay? We're all responsible. If only everyone realized we were all responsible. Because what happens is like, you will see how the world isn't taking responsibility and you'll say, well, why should I have to do it then? But that's what everyone else is thinking. Everybody else is also thinking that. Well, they're not going to do it, so why should I? I know. I don't blame you. I'm really not blaming you. But that is what you're doing.